Hello everyone, and welcome to the stream. So today, hi, I'm Nathan from MLH. I'm a coach, and I have been an experienced hackathoner, and I'm so excited to be with you guys today live on stream because we're going to be creating a reminder application. It's going to be super cool. So you'll see that I have up in front of me flutter.dev. And it is a platform made by Google that is open source that allows you to create applications for iOS, Android, and they just released some features that allow you to push the same code base to web, and in beta, you can push that same code to Windows desktop and Mac desktop. It's super cool, and it's a really cool platform for developing applications. I've worked with it before in a front-end capacity, but today we're going to be doing some things with Firebase to add notifications to it, to allow it to actually send you reminders. So someone just asked in chat, can you make it on non-mobile? Yes. So you can send it every place. It's most optimized for mobile, but you can send it other places. And also, it's not in Java. This actually uses Dart, which is a language that Google started as a replacement for JavaScript. But then people didn't like it as much. It didn't really gain traction, so then they repurposed it for Flutter. So I have some experience building this, but not a ton, and I'll be honest, I haven't touched it in 2 months. So we're going to be walking through it. You guys will be able to learn a lot as I go through the documentation, and you can kind of see my process for building things. No, you don't need to know Flutter, because I'm going to be walking you through that. And actually, I'm showing you the process that I actually go through myself for hackathon projects exactly like this, because you'll notice that in one of my other tabs right here, I have a free Codecamp article open on how to add push notifications to a Flutter app using Firebase Cloud Messaging. This is exactly what I do when I'm trying to create a new project in a skill that I don't know, is find an article on someone who has already talked about how to do it, because that allows you to learn from them and build off of them. So we're going to be following this article with Flutter. I also have the documentation for Flutter open and the Firebase console. In terms of setup, I've already installed Flutter in the past, so you'll notice that I have a workspace open here with a new Flutter project. So I've initialized all that, and I also have an Android virtual machine on my computer that is running a virtual Android device that has the Flutter app running on it as well. So that's all the setup that I have here that we're going to be working with. If you've worked with Flutter in the past, this should be familiar, and if you've worked with Android development in the past, this should look really familiar, because this actually uses a lot of the same parts. Thank you for dropping the check-in link in chat. I really appreciate it. Yes, the code will be available on GitHub afterward. As soon as the stream's over, I'm going to create a repo for you guys. I'm going to upload it, and I'm going to put it in the MLH Discord. So if you aren't already there, go ahead and join that Discord, but you probably are. Can we use Visual Studio? I believe so. So one of the things that's really cool about Flutter is that their documentation is super great. So if you go to Get Started up here, you can choose which operating system you're developing on. So I'm personally on Windows. And it goes through and it tells you for specifically which, I thought it told you for specifically which Zeppelin editor. Here we go. Right here, it talks about the different editors that you can use. Android Studio and IntelliJ is listed, Visual Studio Code is listed, and Emacs is listed. So those are the ones that they have official support for, but I'm sure that if you feel more comfortable with the Visual Studio, I'm sure you could use that. I know that you need to install Visual Studio, especially on Windows, to be able to push to Windows apps. So I'm sure that there's something there, but if you have any of these 3 editors, those will make it the best for you. The resources you need are these right here. I'm going to drop those in chat from my phone. So flutter.dev is the link for the documentation for Flutter. And then this free Codecamp article is up, but I'm just going to be going through that myself, so you don't necessarily need that in front of you. IntelliJ for not Java feels like treason. Maybe, but it does work really well. I really like the IntelliJ autocomplete system, so I don't necessarily hate it. I get why they have it, though. I'm thinking of an idea. Okay. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started, because we only have 2 hours, so we'll see how far we can get into this. I'm hoping that we can get a finished product going, but I don't know. We will see. Because again, you're seeing this exactly from the same perspective that you're at. I have a lot of Flutter experience from our front end, but almost nothing from the back end, and I haven't written a line of Flutter code in 2 months. So if we look here, we have the basic demo app already created for us, and we can see that there are a lot of comments all over it that are just walking us through basically what's there. And if we look in the running example, it's running on the Android virtual machine. What it is it just tells us how many times we've pressed this plus button in the corner, and it has state that updates dynamically. So this is our what we're building off of. We're going to just customize a few things to start with. I'm going to move this off to the side so we can see the Android virtual machine while we do this. Because one of the things that's really nice about Flutter is that it auto refreshes when you make any changes to your code. So again, I'm using Visual Studio Code here, and I have it set to autosave. I know that doesn't work for everyone, but it personally works for me. So if we were to make a change here from this title to Flutter Demo Homepage to Reminder App, and then it should save and update, theoretically. There we go, and we can see that the name up in the upper part of the app right there just changed to Reminder App. So that's a really cool thing about Flutter. We can change the primary color to red, and then in a second, it will go ahead and update. I'm going to put my computer on Focus Assist so I don't get any more notifications, but you'll notice that theoretically when this saves, there we go, it updates to red as the main color. So super cool, super powerful. But what we're looking to do here is make some changes to the UI. Because again, I'm a front-end developer at heart. I'm going to start by making changes to the UI, and then we're going to wire that in to our backend. So to start with, I really like this plus button right down there for the kind of add event. So we're going to keep that, but we also need a way to display the events. So we're going to edit what is showing up in the middle there. And if we look at how this is set up, we have a class that is my app, which extends stateless widget. So that is the app itself, and we'll notice that it is using my homepage. It is calling my homepage in the middle of it, and that is a stateful widget. So if you've never worked with state before, it's basically the variables that are in the app itself that change dynamically as things change within the app. So in this case, an example of the state variable that we'd be using is this counter right there. This code, you were asking where we can find this code. This code that is up on screen right now is the default whenever you create a Flutter project. For me personally, because I'm in VS Code, I did Control-P, and then I did that little arrow, and then it's just Flutter New Application Project. It's built in when you install Flutter. That gets set up. I just called that, and it created everything that I needed to do this specifically. And yes, I will post the code for the however far we get. I don't know. I want to say finished project, but we'll see. I will post that at the end. So we can see that right here is where our actual variable for our state is. We don't need to use a counter variable. What I'm really thinking we should use is a list that contains within it a map, because a map is what they call JSON objects. So this is, again, where I haven't used Flutter or Dart specifically in a while, so we're going to look up Dart list. Okay, so it is called a list, and then we can just so we can create a growable list by doing var. Oh, it doesn't like var. Oh, the return type can't be var. Let's try list. Again, haven't written a line of Flutter in a while now. So list, and then we're going to call this reminders, and then we're just going to equal some empty brackets, and that looks like it was done. Okay, so we're going to be creating our reminders, which is a bracket, and then inside of here, we're going to be creating a map, which if you've never worked with a JSON style object, you have a key and value pair. So our key, in this case, what are we going to have? We're going to have the name. I believe that needs to be in quotes. Name, and then reminder 1 will be our sample name, and then our reminders will need to have a date, and we're going to store that as a string as year, month, day. So 2021 dash, the month would be 6, and then the date would be the 28th, and then we're going to do time. It's yelling at me, so I'm doing something. Oh, that's what I'm doing wrong. This literal contains both map and iterable spreads, which makes it impossible to determine whether the iterable is a map or a set. Ooh. Okay. I legitimately haven't encountered this error before. Again, Dart has gone through a major version change since I last touched this. Okay. So let's Google this error message. Let's see what's happening. Just looking at chat. Do we have to copy and paste the code that he already has? So the code that I already have up on screen is based on the basic project that Flutter has. So whenever you create a new Flutter project in VS Code, you do it by opening up that command prompt with Control P on Windows, and then I open up the little caret there, and then it is Flutter New Application Project. When I do that, it instantiates everything that I need, including the different folders. So we were in the debug view there, not the folder view, which has a folder for Android, a folder for build, iOS, and then lib is the one that we're looking for because that's where the code that I'm writing is. That's the basic rundown of a Flutter project if you haven't worked with one. This is where you want to be hanging out most of the time. Okay. Stack Overflow, as always, our favorite place to go. This literal contains both map and iterable spreads. Let's see what the answer is. So the final thing should work. Questions? The first element is an array. The next element, the syntax is wrong. So wait, what did they originally write? Okay, an array with a map in it. An array with a map. One thing. So they're using single quotes, but I don't think that would make a difference. The extra brackets were missing. So we have the const, which I'm getting so many comments on my nails in chat. Thank you guys so much. So we have the const, which is an array. And then inside of that, we have a map that contains multiple different objects. Okay. So let me try removing you. Oh! That was literally it. I just hadn't finished. Okay. Well, I overreacted over nothing. So then time. And then the time, because I don't want to deal with time objects, is going to be in 24-hour time. So let's have it as 2100. Okay. So that is one of our reminders that we're going to set, because the only things that I think we would need are going to be the name, the date, and the time that it's going to go off. And we'll find out when we start working with the backend if we need any more than that. But this is our first variable, right? This is the variable that's going to be holding everything. We want to make sure that, so, okay, it is a state variable because it's been created within here. In terms of Flutter syntax, we're supposed to put an underscore in front of it if it's a private variable, which I want to say that it'll be a private variable, but I just don't know yet, so we're going to be bad programmers and we're going to make that a public variable for now. Did you use the const keyword? No, I did not use the const keyword because we're going to be changing this. You use the constant keyword if it's not going to be changing. The entire point of this is that it's going to be changing as we do things within the app. Okay. So actually, let's go through and let's clean this up a little bit. So we don't need this comment. We're good with that. And then currently we're passing a title into it. Okay, that's fine. This widget is the home page of your application. This class is the configuration for the state. Okay. Ah. Okay. So we're just creating state and passing it into this class right here. We already knew that one. Fields in a widget subclass are always marked final. Okay. I'm just trying to clean this up to make sure that we know where we're doing. Regex out in the comments. I actually don't remember any regex. At one point I remembered it. I don't anymore. So we're going to be going through by hand. Set state. Yep. Okay. So basically, that's just saying that we always use set state as a wrapper whenever we're actually changing something with state so that it knows to remember to change things. This method will return every time set state is called because it's our build method. Here's where we're taking the title that we pass in from up above, which is there. We're centering it. We're creating a column. I'm deleting these. I'm not going over them because we'll totally be talking about these later when I'm actually writing new code. And trailing comma, auto-formatted. OK, so we've removed all their comments because those were annoying me. OK, so now all that we have left is that. OK, and then this is actually where we're going to be writing the main parts of our code. So now this is the question. Do we want to be good programmers or do we want to be fast programmers? Because theoretically, we should be breaking out into components and not building everything onto the one page. But my first Flutter project that I ever made, I put every single thing that I wanted on the UI within one document, and it got huge. And from there, I learned that I should break it out into multiple different documents with different components. But considering that this entire workshop is 2 hours, I don't think we're going to do that. So just heads up, I'm going to be writing some ugly code here, but I don't think we're going to have that much front-end code, so it's going to be fine. Fingers crossed, question mark. We're going to see if that breaks everything later on, and then I'll come to regret my words. But so we can see, if we break down what's happening, we have the scaffold, which is the overarching highest level Flutter widget that we call, and inside of it, it contains the app bar, which is this thing at the top right there. Then inside of that, we have a body, which is all of this. And inside of that, we're calling center, which centers its children. And its children are just the things below it. We can see right there, child. So we're centering the child, which is a column, which is with its main axis alignment centering. So that's centering vertically. This is centering horizontally, centering vertically. And then in the children of the column, we have an array of widgets. And that array of widgets is being put into the column. So one of them is the text. And then we have another text one here. So we're going to remove these two. And we're going to replace it with a text widget. And that text widget is going to say your reminders. And then one of the things that I really like about Flutter is that we can use control space, at least on Windows in VS Code, to see what other options we have for this. So it looks like we go into then style, where, okay, this is where, again, haven't touched it in a while, so we're going to be searching for how to style text Flutter. We call it text style class. So we have text style, text style. So we have our text widget, and inside of that, we're saying that the style is a text style. And then inside of that, we're going to do font size. And we're going to set that to 20 and see how big it is. I'm going to hit save, and we can see that's not very big. We want this to be a big title. Perfect. That's actually a little bit too big. Let's try that. I typed 430. So here's another thing that's fun, is it's telling us that a render overflow happened at the bottom, and we can see that in the yellow dashes are there. So we're going to backspace out of that, and we're going to hit save. OK, 30 points. I like that. We're going to go with that. Checking chat. Spends too much time talking about saving time. Adam, you're calling me out, and I don't like it. I'm in this post, and I do not like it. So we have that text there. Then what we're going to do is we're going to create a card. And a card is just going to, well, actually, let's pull up the documentation for a card here. That's the list, Flutter documentation. I'm going to search for a card. We're just going to search card Flutter, because apparently I was in the wrong documentation. Here we go. We wanted api.flutter.dev. So the card class, if we run this example, there we go, creates this default Material UI card. So we can see that it has the border, it has the shadows, it has options for buttons, and it is text. So that is perfect. How did I get the phone on the side like that? So yes, it is a split screen, but at the same time, what this is running over on the right-hand side is an Android virtual machine. If you've never done Android development before, you need to install Android Studio. And then once you do that, when it opens, under Configure, there's the AVD Manager, or the Android Virtual Device Manager. And inside there, I've created a virtual Google Pixel 3a that is running on my computer as basically simulating an Android device. And I have an Android phone with me that I could be using, but then you couldn't see it. So when I'm developing this myself, I save the screen real estate by sending it actually to my phone. And if you have an iPhone and you have a Mac, you could do the exact same thing developing right for iOS, and you could try it out on your phone, or you could have the virtual device up on screen. Okay, where were we? The card. So we're going to be creating a card, because it looks like that, which is kind of the default. We're working in Material UI here, which is Google's UI standard, because I think that it's usually really easy to use. But if you're developing on iOS, you might want to use some of their iOS widgets rather than the ones that I'm going to be using, which look Android specific. Because if you've never compared the two side by side, they have very different design language. Okay, so it doesn't specifically have title. So let's look again at what they have here. Where's their example card? Down here, card. Okay, so in their children of the card, they have a column. I'm actually just going to copy this. Actually, no, because they have this much more complicated than we need. They have the child as a column. And then the children of that column, if we save it, will auto-format for us. We're going to have one of those be text, reminder name, and then we're going to have another one of those be text, and then reminder date time. And we're going to hit save. Perfect. Okay. Well, not perfect, but you can see that we now have a card rendering on the screen, but we'll notice that it is too small. So in the column, we're going to choose our cross-axis alignment, because our main axis alignment goes this way and our cross-axis alignment goes this way, unless I'm mixing those up. And we are going to, if we look at the documentation again, Flutter alignment. Oh, one of the things that I really love is Flutter and Google have released a series of videos called Widget of the Week. They're amazing. They go through a bunch of different widgets, the ones that you'd use the most. They're a great way. They're like 2 minutes each, and they're a great way to introduce yourself to a lot of what Flutter can do. My first hackathon with them, I put on that playlist, I set the speed to 2 times, and I binged it just to kind of get a general overall idea of what Flutter could do. Flutter column alignment. Layouts in Flutter. Here we go. This is just their overall how to do a layout. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So on a column, the main axis is this way, the cross axis is this way. Aha, I did get that right. But their options for cross-axis alignment, I just clicked on that right there to see their specific documentation for it, is baseline, center, end, start. We're going to choose center. Ooh, is it a capital C? Doesn't like that. Type can't be assigned to, it is. Here's our card example. We need to do cross-axis alignment.center. I totally spelled that wrong. Alignment. you know what? We're going to use autocomplete cross axis alignment dot center. And we're going to save, because I know that now if we... Okay, I'm going to do kind of a cheat here. And I'm going to select column, and I'm going to do control period, and I'm going to say wrap with widget. It's some really interesting tooling that allows you to immediately make that class a child. And I'm going to do expand, if I can see what I'm typing, expand, expanded, and we're going to save. And theoretically, that should make it max out the size to as big as it can go. Theoretically, they said. Let me just see. How do I get the Flutter app to connect with the emulator? One of the things that you'll do when you're setting up Flutter is you'll set up something called Flutter Doctor. It is a command line tool that'll run to make sure you have everything that you need to run Flutter. It's super convenient at getting everything to hook up kind of automatically because it searches for what AVDs you have. You'll notice that at the bottom bar of my Visual Studio Code, I have a little button that has the different things that I have set up. So if I need an Android emulator, I can select it here. If I had my phone plugged in, I could use that. I could also select Chrome or Edge if I was doing web development using Flutter. Now, okay, we're going to Google how to make a card fill space in Flutter. I don't want horizontally. Fill horizontal. So inside a card, I have a stack. Is a stack meaning, okay, a row, an image, and text inside a container. How can I make the container width to fill the card width? Left and right. See, but they're using a container. See here, this is what I used. Wrap all the children with the expanded widget. Using the expanded widget makes a child of a row, column, or flex expand to fill the available space within the main axis. Horizontally for a row or vertically for a column. If multiple children are expanded, the available space is divided among them according to the flex factor. So, we have expanded on our column. Well, let's define our main axis alignment and see if that helps with anything. Main axis alignment dot center, and we're going to hit save. Didn't change much. I know. It's because our expanded is in the wrong place. So if we, let's see if we can remove this widget. Ooh, did that? No, that did exactly what we wanted it to do. Okay, so we still have the column, but what we want to expand is not this column, but the one that is above it, the one that is here. Control period, wrap with widget, expanded. And we're going to save. That obviously fixed it so well. So you have a centered, expanded. So one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the widget inspector. And once this loads, we're going to see if this helps us at all. So I'm going to turn on seeing the bounding boxes with the debug paint tool here. And we'll see that this isn't even taking up, yeah, it's obviously not taking up the same amount of space as your reminders. So it's not being pushed in by anything, it's just not expanding out correctly. Okay, we'll close out of that for now so we have more space for our code. Now, if someone's more experienced with Flutter or has used it more recently than me that knows what I'm doing, feel free to say so in chat, but until then, we're going to go back to Google and we're going to search again. See, we want it to expand. Let's go back to our card example and see what they did. Actually, you know what we're going to do? We're going to copy this entire card, and we're just going to delete stuff from it until it looks the way we want it to. So card is this indent level. to there, I believe. We'll see if it yells at us. And we're going to replace our entire card here with that. It's yelling at us for something. Let's see what. Okay, I'd expected to find a parentheses. We're going to try adding one. And then if we hit save, okay, that worked. That worked extraordinarily well. So we're going to look at this and see what we did differently. I'm going to turn off debug tip. So wait, let me look at chat really quickly. So some people were looking to see if we should change the column to the row. So if we changed it to a row, things would start appearing side by side rather than on top of each other. I was wondering, because we were trying to expand it the opposite direction from the main axis direction, so expanded wasn't doing exactly what we wanted, but we do want the text stacked on top of each other like this. Okay, if you just needed to restart VS Code to get that working, I'm very glad that it is now working. Okay, so we have our card that has a child of a column, main axis. Main axis size. Interesting, we never defined that. Children, widget. Okay, it's using a constant list title. Oh, that's amazing. Okay, so there's a list title widget that I didn't know existed that does this really beautiful title subtitle, which is perfect, exactly what we want. And now it has a row option right here that it is using to display those two buttons. Now I want two buttons as well, but one's going to be a check mark and one's going to be an X. The check is for completing it, the X is for removing it. Now what you can do is you can get really fancy and you can do a swipeable list, but that's too complicated for me to think that we're ever going to get to the back end if we implement that. So we're going to go simpler and just do two buttons. So we have list title. Perfect. Okay, so we have this children that is a widget list in this column. But now that we know that list title exists, we don't need it to be a column anymore. So we can get rid of the column. Yeah, okay, so we're going to get rid of the row because we don't need those buttons. And when we do that, we only have one widget that is a child of the card. So we can get rid of column, control period, remove the widget, and we're going to save. And we'll notice that it looks the exact same, which is exactly what we're looking for. So then on list title, I think we can remove that const. I believe that's like good code, but we're not writing good code, we're writing fast code. We're going to wrap this with a row. So now this is one of the children, but one of the children before it, we're going to make a icon button, I believe is a class. Yes, icon button, and the icon is going to be icon dot, or icons dot, icon, icons dot, there we go, check. And then on pressed, we're going to leave that as, do we have, there we go. We have increment counter as a function that already exists, because this is telling us what function are we going to call when we press that button. We're going to keep that there. We're going to add the comma so it stops yelling us about that. And if we save, okay. So not everything's showing anymore, which is fine, but we'll notice that that check mark is there, which is a step forward in the right direction. So below that, we're going to do another icon button that is going to be an delete. We need to close those parentheses, and then we're going to save again. Okay, now things aren't showing up correctly, so this is where we get into our row, main axis alignment, dot. We're going to try space evenly. Didn't like that. We're going to try making these shorter, because maybe those are overflowing. No, didn't like that either. So the icon button, let's see what else we have here. Not much. It really just wants an icon. Ah, it's because this is where we'd ask what else it wants. We have alignment, we have constraints, icon size. See, the thing is when I click on it, it doesn't react in any way. So it's broken somehow, but it's broken subtly enough that I don't know how yet. So children, icon button. So we're going to just change that to, I believe it is raised button. Ah, raised button is depreciated. So I believe maybe it's, again, I haven't used this in a while. So raised button, Flutter, deprecated. Icon. Okay, so we're going to try text button. And then that child is going to be an icon. And then the on pressed is going to be increment counter. And then we're going to remove the mess of parentheses that we're leaving behind. We're going to save. Okay. Still not liking this. So I'm just going to cut these out. And we're going to save. Okay, that is now working at least. So it shows us, if we go back to icon button and change that to icon, we can see that that's working, but I like the look of text button better. We can see that this is working, but then as soon as we paste in list title, it doesn't like it. So what we're going to do is there might be a reason that they had list title above the row. So under row, we're going to make it a child of a column. Children. We're going to paste in our list title there. We're going to save. Okay, we just needed to do that, and now it works. That's slightly disappointing because I don't like how that looks as much, but at the same time, we have limited time, so we're just going to go with it. So test, and then row, icon. We're going to change this to a text button. Actually, wait. Can we change the color here to colors.green? No, we want red for the X and green for the check. There we go. So now we have a green check and a red delete. So now we have the UI scaffolded out. This isn't going to be very pretty, but at the same time, limited time. So that works. Now what we're going to do is we are going to take what we just wrote here and we're going to change it so that this is the result of iterating over the reminders variable that we have right here. So we are going to change this to reminder 2. The 29, and then we're going to save that. Okay, so now, rather than here just pulling from these static test and test, under children, widget, card, we're going to replace this with us doing a map on this list. Now this is something that I know that I've done frequently in the past, but I can't remember exactly how I did it. So I'm going to go to GitHub. And I'm going to look at an old project that I wrote using this. Let's look here. live local is an example of a project that I wrote in Flutter. So the front end, lib, we're looking for pages. So at home, you can tell that this one was one that I wrote actually correctly because we're calling multiple different places. So here's our list of businesses. So we're going to iterate over those businesses somewhere. We just pass them in. So we're going to need to go back to look to where we iterated over that. What are we passing it to? We're passing it to swipeable feeds. Swipeable feeds. Okay, we are taking in, we're looking for actually feed grid. That's feed, cut. Here we go. No, we pass it down one more. See, this is why I didn't, can I magnify the text a bit? Yes, in 1 second. I'm just going through this quickly for now. Maybe that will help. We're calling feed grid. Here we go. Children is businesses, so that's the name of our list, dot map, businesses, int index, and then we're saying return for each one that we're doing. Okay. Let's try this. So the children is going to be the children of this column. We're going to take this, and I'm going to comment it out for now. The children is going to be reminders.map. And then what did I do before? Is this text in VS Code big enough? Let me know in chat if it's not, and I can try making this bigger. So we took that, and then we have businesses. A business is going to be the name of our object. So where do we have that? Okay. This is doing an arrow function. We want to do a full fat function. This is going to be reminder. And then here, we're going to return a container. Wait, what is it yelling at me for right now? Iterable dynamic can't be, okay. So we're going to return a container with a child. Wait, should this be in our column? No. We should be returning, this should be at our card level. Okay, we're going to back out of this for now. And at our card level, our child is not going to be column. Our child is going to be reminders dot map reminder, and then in here iterable null can't be assigned to parameter type widget. We're going to replace that with just nothing for now and see. Return. Here we go. And now we do column, children, and then those children are going to include our list title, and our row. List title, row. We then close out that and see what it's yelling at us about. So iterable dynamic can't be assigned to the parameter type of widget. Argument column function can't be assigned to the parameter dynamic function dynamic. Okay, let's break down these errors one at a time. So let's go back to our code and see what I did before. Return column children. I had a .toList at the bottom. What level is that on? So on the level of the map, which is this right there, we're missing a close somewhere. So that's this children closes to there. We then need to close out of our column, which is there. Once we close out of our column, we need to close out of our return, which then closes our function, which then closes our map, which then has a .toList. Okay. Now it is at least giving us all the right. Ooh, we have too many now. So our row is closing out there. So our map is closing there, .toList, and then that is closing out our card. Okay, so then what's happening above it? What are you for? You purple parentheses seem to be... that's closing out our return. Okay. Let's look back at our errors right now. List dynamic can't be... Okay. Let's Google this. So our method is currently returning a column. But this is within a card. So a card can only have one child. This is giving us multiple children. So I was right the first time, actually. We need this to be a column with children. So we're going to create a column with children, and then those children are going to be this dot map. So I X out of that. We don't need this, so this child goes up to there. I'm bringing the Blahaj gang. Thank you, Adam, for the Blahaj gang hype. I didn't expect to be stuck on this error, so I apologize for how long this is taking. Theoretically, this should have been much faster, but I feel like that's always what I'm saying in a hackathon. Child Column, children, okay. Element type list dynamic can't be assigned to the list type of a widget. Let's look at what we did before, because I know this code ran. Ah! First we remove this. Expected to find an end bracket. Column, children, reminders.map. There we go, okay. Unexpected return. Ooh. Unexpected return. Unexpected return. When defining a function, let's look back at my previous code. Children, businesses.map. Return, and then we're returning a column. Returning a column with children, and this column goes to there. List title, row. Okay, that's working. That is for the children there, and this is closing out the column there. This is closing out the return there. This is closing out nothing anymore. So that's closing out the map. That's closing out the column. This is closing out the card. Expected to find bracket. Ah, because we have children up there, which isn't matched to anything until down there. Ah! What are you? Ooh. I've gotten lost in the sauce of parentheses. Somewhere I have a bracket that shouldn't be there, or a parenthesis that shouldn't be there. So that's this goes to close out that, and then that closes out the card. We already have this, so I'm just gonna cut this for now, because this should help us to see where our mistake is. Okay, expected to find another parenthesis. Let's look up arrow function in Dart to make sure that I'm doing the syntax right. Okay, so we shouldn't have a return, but we should have that good old, our interval column can't be assigned to the parameter type of list widget. So what we're having now is a type error, which is one of the worst types of errors to have ever, because it means that we might need to go back through and statically type things to find out where the actual issue is. Okay, we have, this no longer should be there. Hey! Oh, I just did one extra. Oh, no, we still have some extra things down here floating around. So let's make sure everything closes out, and then we're so close. We're almost there, everyone. Those yeah, the red lines are not ideal, but we're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. Okay. We have our widget. So we've closed everything out. Our first issue is here. We're expected to find a close bracket, which I'm assuming is for this widget right here. Yes. We close out of our column, which is here, which is in our card, which we close out there, which means that we should have U there. Okay. It's one step. And then we have some things down there that are dead. So what's your issue? Okay. You're old. Let's go back through. We don't need expanded, because we know that that was old code that doesn't work anymore. Oh, did the microphone just randomly like increase in volume only for the word hey? Is it the magic word that makes my microphone just suddenly explode your eardrums? If it is, I apologize. See, now the good news with this is you're getting the actual true hackathon experience, specifically with Flutter Dev, where Flutter is beautiful in all of the auto formatting it does until you have these issues in your parentheses lining up, and then you have big issues. So it's expecting to find a semicolon. Okay, let's go from the top. We're returning our scaffold, which isn't closing correctly, but it's supposed to be closing there. Okay, so that's not closing correctly, but the app bar is closing correctly, and our body should have a comma after the center. Yes, so that shouldn't be there. Our column, so this is our widget, that's indented correctly. Our column should be closing there. Then we have a center after it. Okay. Then after the center, we have a comma. You are not needed. There we go. If we save, we see, aha, there are now two things which are showing up in this list, which is perfect. There weren't before, but now because we have two things in this list here, we can see that there are now two things showing up in that list. So that took a lot longer than I expected it to fix all those bugs, but we can see that we're dynamically reading from that list, because if we add another thing to that list, and then we save, there we go. Now it updated. We have three different things on the list. So now it's just a question of having it pull, instead of saying test, to pull the actual thing that we want it to say. So what we're currently passing into this is called E. We want to call that reminder. And we're going to call here reminder.name, and then reminder.date plus reminder.time. And now if we save, now we're getting into the spicy bugs, because this is where it goes all red and it can't even load. Hashmap string has no instance getter name. So we're just going to try this one at a time. There we go. Okay, we just need to call it differently. So reminder name, reminder date, and reminder time. And now if we save, boom, look at that UI. Reminder 1, reminder 2, reminder 3, all with everything updating. So we now have the UI rendering. Now we just need one more thing, which is going to be a way of adding something to this list of reminders, because currently this is just static, and that's what this plus button right there is for. We'll notice that that plus button is right here. Nope. Right here, floating action button. And we have it on pressed to call increment counter. Well, I know that Flutter has a nice pop-up, I believe. Flutter pop-up. And they're going to call it something else, but I can't remember what it is for the life of me. Alert dialog. Maybe this does what we want. No. Let's do Flutter Navigator and see what they say about that, because this is how we navigate between different pages. Ooh, they redid it. Okay, you know what? We're going to get even less fancy with it, and we're going to remove this floating action button. And we're just going to have, above your reminders, going to have some text boxes where you type in the reminder name, date, and time. And from there, we're going to have a checkbox that you click to send it off to the backend. But now we've gotten to the point where I believe we can go look at the tutorial that we have here from Free Code Camp for the backend. So we're going to close all the documentation tabs we opened, and we're going to look at adding the push notifications. So we know what a push notification is. We've created a Flutter project. Now we're going to integrate our Firebase configuration with Flutter. So we're going to need to create a Flutter project, and then we're going to need to actually connect it with our, or we're going to need to create a Firebase project, and then we're going to need to integrate it with our Flutter project. So first we're going to create a Firebase project, and we're going to call it Reminder App. And we're going to hit continue. We're going to keep analytics, default account for Firebase, and we're going to create this project. While this is loading, we're going to go back here. Okay, and then it's going to have us register our Firebase project to Android. This is one of the things that's interesting about Flutter. They separate out how you connect your APIs to each different platform. So in this case, since we're developing an Android app, we're going to be separating out our APIs to Android and iOS. And in this case, we're just going to be dealing with Android. So after clicking on the Android icon, we're going to register an app. We're going to do com.dimmer.reminder. Reminder app. Register the app. We're going to download the config file, and we're going to move it into the Android app module root directory. Let's see if they give us any. Ooh, okay. So after that, we simply click the right. This will where we can get. Okay. Ah, we need to find we're going to delete this. I made an oopsie. We're going to delete the project. Delete project. And we're going to start over, reminder app, because what I didn't realize was that we need to pull the name of the Android app that we've already created. I did com.dimmer.reminder app. We need to pull that from here because we've already created the Android app, which makes sense. It's going to be Android app build.gradle. So Android app build.gradle, and we're going to define let's search for com.android.application, com.example.reminder app. We're going to change that to com.dimmer.reminder app. We're going to copy this. And now we're going to go back through and attach it to our Android apps right here. com.dimmer.reminder app, reminder app, registry app, and now we're going to download the config file. Woohoo, it's Google Services 2.json. So what we're going to do is, in my downloads, which will totally be a mess, looking for Google Services 2, we go into the folder that we have for this, into Android, and we're copying it to Android/app. So Android/app, and then we're pasting this, and we're removing that 2 in parentheses. Once we do that, next, we're going to go ahead and add the Firebase configuration to the native files. Okay. So in our root level, so Android build.gradle, which is where we're at here. No, Android build.gradle, right here. Okay. Build script, repositories, we are currently, we have Google in there. And we need this class path in our dependencies. And we need, in all projects, we have the Google dependency. Perfect. Next. Apply plugin to Android app build.gradle. Under what? Above Android. So right here, apply plugin. We're going to save everything that we've changed so far. And then we're going to do Flutter packages get in the command line. Fingers crossed, we did this correct. It didn't say any errors, so we're going to go with that we did that correctly. Okay, now we need to integrate Firebase messaging with Flutter. So add the Firebase message dependency to Android app build.gradle. So we need to add these 2 dependencies to app build.gradle. So it's this one right here. Under dependencies. We already have Kotlin version done, so we just need the second one. And then we need to add an action and a category as an intent filler within the activity tag in the Android app source main Android manifest.xml file. This is where having a tutorial is nice, because I'll be honest, I don't know enough about Android specific app development to know what we're doing here. So in the Android app, so Android app source main Android manifest.xml, an intent filler. I don't know at what level we add this. Intent filler. I hope that was, let's check. I think that's what we're looking. That should be within the activity tag, they said, and it is within the activity tag. Perfect. And now we need to create a Java file called application.java in this path. App source main Java. And then app organization path. So, good question, Adam. What actually is Firebase? Should have covered that. While I'm adding this file, I'm going to talk about that. Firebase is Google Cloud's, well, it originally started as a separate company, but then Google bought it. So it's now fairly well integrated with Google Cloud. And it is a way of interfacing with cloud services in a way that is serverless. So you can add things like functions, database, authentication, messaging, like we're using here for push notifications, all under one umbrella with a really good free tier and with really well-written APIs. So it's kind of an all-in-one solution that you can just call Firebase and use the different parts that you need without needing to spin up a bunch of different, I don't know what Google Cloud calls them, but a bunch of different services within Google Cloud for storage, authentication, functions, that sort of thing. It works very well for something like a hackathon project, and I know that there are a lot of small-scale applications that use it. I don't know how it scales up larger. I know some people really like it, and I know some people really despise it. So it's really up to you, but for a hackathon, I think it's perfect. Because it's really easy to use, they said, as they're going through and adding a whole bunch of configuration stuff to the path. But this is much more Android development stuff than Flutter-specific stuff. I hope that answers your question. If you have more, please ask. Android source main Java, and then app organization path. So what is an app organization Android dev? I believe com.example. So that's what we're looking for. It's going to be com.example.myapp, com.example.reminderapp. I believe we should still have it open from where we got it from. com.dimmer.reminderapp is what we chose. So we're going to create a folder here. In Java, new folder. And then in that folder, we're going to create a file that is called application.java, I believe. Yes. So create a file, application.java, and in there, we're copying this code snippet. And now we need to assign this application activity to the application tag. So Android manifest.xml, we're here, and then under application, Android name.application. Oh, we did that in the wrong spot. We need to do it here. And then we save. Okay. And then they just said that completes our setup of the Firebase messaging plugin in the native Android code. So now we'll move on to the Flutter project itself. So we're going to be using the Flutter messaging package. This is super convenient if you've ever worked with any of the node-based systems of developing web apps. So Angular, Node itself, React, that sort of thing. You'll be used to NPM, or the Node Package Manager. Pub.dev is very similar, but for Flutter, where we can use packages of other people's codes. You'll notice that this was published by firebase.google.com. This is from Firebase directly, which we can use in our code. So here we're going to use this package. So in pubspec.yaml, which is here, we're going to add a dependency that is Firebase messaging. Okay, and now this is where they're implementing a UI screen, which actually we could have just used their UI for an example. You know, we're going to copy this, and we're going to use this for a second, and we're going to just add this on top of our stuff, and then we'll come back to wiring our stuff up later. So inside my home page, so in the main.dart file, in the my homepage stateful widget, we need to initialize those. So inside my homepage, we need these. So we have that string, we have this, which it's saying is an undefined class. So let's try running packages get again. The thing that is confusing me slightly is that we've imported Firebase. Ah, there we go. We just didn't save pubspec YAML. Let's try saving this again. Oh. Because we've imported Firebase messaging, but it doesn't notice it here. Undefined class. So let's try import Firebase messaging. So package flutter material.dart. So package Firebase Messenger. Imported pub.dev package not undefined class. Error. Let's try this. imported Firebase messaging undefined class error Flutter. Okay, here we go. No, that is not what we're looking for. Okay, well, let's double check. Import, actually, we can do that here. So installing. Let's try running this command, and we'll see what it does. Pub upgrade Firebase messaging cat. There we go. Now it worked. Okay, we just needed to run that command to update it, and now it recognizes that Firebase messaging is something that we installed. So if we go back, okay, we're going to add a column here as a child above your reminders. So here, notification alert. Why is it saying that these are undefined? We have them up there. Ooh, we should probably actually be putting these down here with our other actual stateful messages. There we go. Perfect. So we're just following this tutorial, and we've gotten to the point where we've wired everything up, and we have a basic front end, and we have it running. Now we have our extra front end that we wrote that is down here that says your reminders. For now, actually, just for simplicity's sake, I don't know if we want to comment it out. We're not going to comment it out, but we're just going to be working with alert and empty right here. These two are the things that are going to change when we get a push notification from our Firebase. So for now, the notification title is empty, and the alert is also as defined. We need to assign a proper value to them once we receive the notification. So we need to configure the code to receive the notification and use the notification message to display it on screen. So in the init is state function, where is init state? We're setting up an async with Firebase in this, which if you haven't worked with async await, it's a way of communicating with remote services like Firebase in such a way that you don't halt the entire app waiting for the response. And I'll be honest, that's about all that I know about it. I haven't worked with it all too much because, again, I'm primarily a front-end developer. So we need to configure the code to receive the notification. So I'm just scrolling down here to see if they have a link to a GitHub repo for this. I don't believe that they do, because where I'm slightly confused is where exactly we should be putting this code. Init state. Because if we scroll through here, okay, let's Google. Where does init state go Flutter? That wasn't super helpful. Init state is a method that is called once the stateful widget is inserted into the widget tree. We generally override this method. It's called once. So by the sounds of it, it goes at the level of the stateful widget. So up here, but it obviously doesn't like that. No, because it's calling the things that we wrote earlier. Okay, so it doesn't go... I believe it goes here then, next to our build. Aha, there we go. No big error messages, which means that we're doing at least something right. So, init state. Okay. We've added this, which is doing the async await, and then we have the configure. So it provides on message and on resume callbacks, which provide the notification message as a parameter, and that message will hold the notification object as a map object, which you'll remember we used map object earlier in our list of reminders that we have displaying in the UI right here. The onMessage function triggers when the notification is received while we're running the app, and the onResume function triggers when we receive the notification alert in the device notification bar and opens the app through the push notification itself. In this case, the app can be running in the background or not running at all. Now we're all equipped with the Flutter app. We just need to configure a message in the cloud messaging service and send it to the device. So, this is where we're getting to a really interesting part. So I'm going to make sure that the device is showing when we open this up. So I probably jumped the gun at the beginning by creating this UI. We really should have wired this up first. I thought that this was slightly different than it was because we're currently showing it from the cloud messaging console to send to the device rather than the other way around. So first we need to go back to the cloud messaging console in the Firebase site. So in Firebase, we've added Firebase to the app. We're now looking for cloud messaging right here. And then we're going to click send your first message. And from there, we need to click on it, which will lead us to the following window. Here we can enter the title, text, image, and message, and name. The title we set here will be provided as the title and the message. Okay. And then we're providing our target app. Then we click next, we schedule it, and then it will appear. Okay, so let's go through this. The title will be, you have a reminder. The notification text will be testing. And then we don't have an image or a name. So we're going to click next. The target is going to be dimmer reminder app. Scheduling, we're going to do send now. Conversation events, we aren't going to be using those. Additional options, we aren't going to be using those. So if we hit review, I'm going to double check. We're going to go back here. Oh, we're supposed to change something. Cancel additional fields. We can set title and click action. So title, test message, click action, Flutter notification, click. So title will be test message. That was lowercase. So lowercase t title, test message. And then our key is going to be click action, Flutter notification, click. So click underscore action. And then all caps, Flutter notification, click. Click, Flutter notification, click. And then we're going to click review. Okay. Review, publish, and then theoretically this alert and empty should update. I want to see, did anything appear in the notification bar? No, just a bunch of old notifications. Okay. So it was sent. Let's try this with the app not running, and we'll see what happens. Drum roll, but it's probably going to be a pretty anticlimactic drum roll if I'm being honest, because so far we haven't gotten anything good from it. Okay, both sent successfully, but we never actually received it. So we're going to go through and do some basic troubleshooting steps. I'm going to try stopping the app and starting it again. See, now this is the most exciting part of developing in Flutter, when it is building to deploy to the device. It's why hot reload is so convenient, where you don't need to go through this process every single time you make a change to the app. But in this instance, I'm hoping that one of the issues that we're having is that something didn't automatically update in the background, because we were making a bunch of deep level changes, but I honestly don't know. Again, I don't have a ton of experience with async await. So we're just going to go back through their tutorial if this doesn't fix it, and we're going to see where we deviated from what they wrote. The good news is that we don't have any error messages directly in Visual Studio Code itself, which means that the code we've written at least isn't wrong, but it's just not working. So it's a logic error rather than a syntax error. Ooh, we saw a white flash. We saw that it was building. So advantages of Kotlin versus Flutter. So the comparison that you're making there is between a programming language and a framework. So Kotlin is used to write code for Android development natively. So if you're writing your Android app only for Android, you can choose between Kotlin and Java. And Kotlin, to my knowledge, is the more powerful example. That is the most modern way to write apps in Java. It's kind of what it's designed for. Flutter, on the other hand, uses Dart as a programming language, and it is much more generalized. Whereas when you're developing for Android specifically, you have full access to everything that Android offers. With Flutter, you're developing on a slightly higher level, where you can send your app to iOS, Android, the web, or native on desktop. So any of those options it gives you more flexibility, but you'll also notice that in doing this, we were going through and we were setting some things up in Android itself and some things at a higher level in Flutter itself. So it adds slightly more complexity, but also more flexibility. So Kotlin is a language, Flutter is a framework. Does that comparison make sense? I don't know if that answered your question, Rico0098. Again, it's building. The good thing is that it's saying that it's installing an output to the Flutter APK, which is exactly what I was hoping would happen. I was hoping that something just didn't change and didn't update, which is why we were having issues. This might not fix it, but it might. I'm hopeful, fingers crossed, because I think we followed the tutorial to the T almost exactly. In compile times, which is faster? I honestly don't know off the top of my head. If we're talking about my machine right here, I believe that what is currently causing this long compile time is a combination of my internet, being that I'm currently live streaming. So if it's currently trying to also download the code that it needs in an external dependency, that could be slowing things down. It could also be the fact that I'm screen sharing with a virtual Android device over and writing code, and it could be that my machine is overloaded right now, or it could just be that Flutter's slow. I don't know what Flutter's compile time is compared to the others. While this is actually installing, I can Google it though. Flutter compile time versus native. So there's some people who are talking about performance. That is one of the things that's interesting, is to a certain extent, compile time isn't what matters, it's the runtime performance. So this is for their I don't know exactly what they're testing here, but it looks like they're trying to test how much calculations get slowed down by the framework that you're using. See, this is still installing, which is slightly terrifying me. We'll see what's happening there, because it might be that we messed something up on our lower level when we were configuring Flutter to work with Firebase. But it looks like Flutter is slower than native, but faster than React Native. Because here, if we're looking at an algorithm that's specifically running on Android, we can see a comparison between Java and Kotlin. They're running roughly the same. But then we can see Flutter is much slower than those, but React Native is the slowest out of all of them. I don't believe that I'm exactly... Yeah, basically their key takeaway was Flutter's good. But that's not exactly answering your question. Which system do I use? So I don't know what you're referring to by system, but if you're referring to what I use for app development, I personally use Flutter because one of the things that I really like about it for hackathons specifically is the fact that you can say that because you used Flutter, you have an iOS app and an Android app. And if you have access to a Mac, I personally don't right now, so I can't compile this for iOS, but this code could directly compile to iOS, which is super cool to say at a hackathon because it means that you can do more in the amount of time that you've actually been writing code. And that's kind of the whole way that I think of what should you be using at a hackathon is how much can you get bang for your buck. PC setup. I am using a Dell XPS. It's like 1 year old at this point. It has a 6-core 9th gen Intel i7 and an RTX 1650. So not top of the line specs by any means, but not slow either, which makes me think that something's gone wrong here because this is taking a lot longer than I thought it should. Adam, hi, did someone say Mac OS? So yeah, Apple is a walled garden, so if you ever want to do anything with iOS development in general, basically ever, you need to have a Mac machine to compile it on. One of the things that's interesting is GitHub allows you to theoretically compile your code on a Mac server that they run. I've never set that up personally, but I've heard of hackathon teams doing that successfully in the past. You should have gotten the Ubuntu Developer Edition of XPS. So two things. One, Actually, the Ubuntu Developer Edition didn't exist when I bought this. The only option was Windows at the time. 2, while I know enough Linux to get around, I am a Windows person. I also do a lot of Adobe Photoshop and Premiere, which is much more stable on Windows, to my knowledge, than it is on Android. Not on Android, than on Linux. So while I don't think that there's ever an issue with Linux specifically for developers, I'm personally stuck with Windows for now. You can make fun of me all you want, but I'm sticking with Windows. Okay, now this is an issue, and we're going to address this, because it's been installing this whole time, and I don't know why it would be doing that. Again, the authentic hackathon experience. We're Googling for errors. We're trying to see what's gone wrong. Build app outputs. Flutter APK, app release APK. Here we go. Flutter stuck installing. For me, the error was due to my Android profile. I uninstalled it, but it remained in the work profile. Oh, so it's saying that I need to delete it from the virtual device. Okay, so we're going to try this. We're going to trust random people on the internet on Stack Overflow, because that's what developers do. I'm going to try terminating that, and then we're going to find this. It is one of these two reminder apps. I'm going to uninstall. Uninstall. Okay. Uninstall. Okay. We're going to try that. And we're going to try running again, start with debugging, and now it is launching again. So you're only going to start using Windows when Windows 11 rolls out. So I've been following Windows 11. It looks interesting. I'll be honest, I kind of am excited for a Windows UI refresh because I feel like it is just a little bit stale. But at the same time, I don't think that they're going to be changing many of the core parts of what makes Windows Windows. So I don't think it's going to be like a groundbreaking update by any means. I just think it'll be a couple UI tweaks. If they're making virtual desktops better, which I've heard that they have, it's going to be great for me because I use them a lot, but it's not going to be insane. So are you an iPhone guy or an Android guy? I have been a little bit of both at different times. Currently, I'm running a Google Pixel because I use the Google services like Gmail and Google Photos and things like that, and it integrates well, and it's also cheap with a good camera. It fit everything that I needed, but I'm not super platform dependent. If I could find Apple devices that fit what I wanted them to do in the budget that I wanted them to do when it's time for me to upgrade, I'd totally use that. But currently, the Windows and Android ecosystem did what I wanted it to do the best. Oof, Androider, I know. People make fun of me for it, but I actually really like it. Especially for things like this, because I could develop apps directly on my phone without needing a Mac. I would like to point out that we're stuck in the exact same point that we were before. Build app outputs Flutter APK, which really makes me think that I have totally configured the backend wrong. I'm going to give it another second to run before I go and change things. But I'm pretty sure that in these deep, dark depths, I made a change incorrectly that is causing this to hang. You're an OEM edition of Windows 10, so you need an upgrade license for Windows 11. I honestly don't know how that works. I know that I'm on an OEM version of Windows as well. I don't know I've ever had a machine that's not. But I never needed a license to upgrade from 7 to 10 when they did the free upgrade cycle. Good luck. I honestly don't know. Have you tried iPhone 12 beta? I have not. I'm not that brave. I stick to the releases when they get released to the public. Adam iPhone after Steve Jobs. Oh, sweet. You're eligible for the free upgrade. That's good. That is very good. Okay. It's hanging again, so now we are going to go back to our tutorial, and we're going to look at our changes, and we're going to see what we did wrong, because we did something wrong. And one of you might have been noticing this and yelling at me this entire time, and I just didn't notice. So we're going to scroll back up, and we're going to look at each of the things that we were asked to do. Adam, I've heard that 10 to 11 will be, considering that 7 to 10 still technically is free through a loophole. I think they'd be stupid not to make 10 to 11 free. But at the same time, I don't work for Microsoft. They might be changing something up in their business model. Okay. So we did the Firebase part, and I believe that was successful. And we copied Google services.json to the Android app directory. We did that successfully. And this is all of our keys and things like that. Then we need to download the file, move it to Android app, and then we add Rico saying they're predicting if it's not free, users migrating to Linux. While I see your point, I don't know of anyone who is not technical that uses Linux, just because there's so much less of a built-in ecosystem surrounding it, and there's so much more added complexity there. I think a lot of developers might, but I think the average person just wants to stick with their operating system as is. Because if you think about what people use, well, there are a lot more web apps now, so that might be changing. But I know in the past, people would get laptops that had, or PCs that had Linux on them, and would get very confused. So, okay, we added the Firebase to the native files. Okay, so this was Android build.gradle. We need to check if the following configurations are available or not. So in build script, this one right here, okay. Build script, repositories, we do have Google. Dependencies, Google, we're going to get rid of that right there for now. Google, GMS, Google Services, 4.3.4. So we have that, but at a newer version. So that should be fine. And then all projects, repositories, we do have Google. Okay, so we've done this part correctly. Now in our app level Gradle, so Android app build Gradle, Android app build.gradle, add the following line above Android, apply plugin, com.google.gms.google services, Google service plugin. We did that one. Now we need to run that following command. Okay, so we've done all these steps before, and it looks like we did them correctly. So let's Android app build grid. We need the following dependencies. So com.google.firebase, Firebase messaging 20.1.0, which we have there. Next, we need an action and a category as an intent filler. So this is where I think we might have gotten into issues, because this is where I was more uncertain. So in the Android manifest, within the activity tag, which is right here, where does there's where activity closes. We have intent filler, Flutter notification click. Okay, I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to go back here. Well, I'm just going to copy that so we have it when we try sending it again to make sure that we're using the exact same spelling, because I might have had a typo there. Rico asks, what is Firebase? Firebase is a centralized cloud service that has a bunch of different services that you can use all in one place. So inside of Firebase, you have access to a database, you have access to cloud functions, you have access to messaging, which we're trying to use right here for sending push notifications, and you also have access to like authentication and things like that. It's great for use at things like hackathons because it's all centralized, so you don't need to spin up a bunch of different servers. And it's also really good in beginner and small projects because it has a really good free tier. So it's associated with Google. It's a part of their Google Cloud. I don't know how it directly connects, but I know you can pull things from the bigger Google Cloud ecosystem into Firebase and use them together. Okay, we did that correctly. Now, see, here's the thing. We need to create a Java file called application.java in the path. The thing that's confusing me is app organization path. I don't know what that means. So what is an app organization path? So I named the folder com.dimmer.reminder app. See, but these are packages, keeping these folders in each app. So it seems like we're supposed to use the folders named that. If anyone has more experience with Android or Java development in using this in chat, and they know that I'm doing something wrong, please call me out on it. Because it looks to me, in my knowledge, that we're doing that correctly. So it's just the application.java file. We add the following code, which we did copy, and there are no errors. Unless that is no. Okay. And then we need to assign this application activity to the application tag of the Android manifest. So application. So Android name main activity. The fact that it's done that other places. Aha. Shoot. I shouldn't have changed. I found what I did wrong, and it was in my hubris wanting to stick my last name into this. So right here, we have that the package is com.example.reminder app. But you'll remember earlier in one of these build.gradles, I changed it here to com.dimmer.reminder app, and it was pure hubris on my part, so that's where I went wrong. If I had kept this example and I had used that, everything would have worked. That's where the issue was in compiling. So we have 4 minutes left, so I'm going to see if we can do a speed run here of redoing all of our Firebase configuration, this time with the new name of the app, project overview. We're going to need to delete this. One app. We're going to delete the project. We know that we're going to be disabling and deleting everything. That is fine. Okay, add project. The project name is going to be reminder app. Continue. We're going to be using the default account. Now the pressure's on 3 minutes. Can we get it to send a notification? My only question, Adam, I just saw your thing in chat. What's the character count of Discord channel names? Because it feels like you'd definitely be approaching that very quickly. Okay, here we go. Android. com.example, reminder app, reminder app. Register. Go. Then we're going to need to download, and we're going to need to copy it. We already have here where we copied it to, so we're going to delete it out of here. We're going to download it. Okay, perfect. We're going to open up our downloads over here. And there we're going to get you. I believe you were the last one we downloaded. Yes, it was 2. We're going to take you. We're going to cut you. We're going to paste you here. We're going to rename you to remove that 2 because we don't need multiple copies of you. Okay. With that, and my hubris having been removed from the app, theoretically, if we try running this now, it should build at least. That's my expectations have decreased to the extent that now I am hoping that it builds. I'm going to delete it and uninstall off the phone again. 100 characters. Adam was actually able to respond how long the Discord channel name limit is. I wonder, I don't have the ability to count those characters right now, but I wonder how close you are to that. Yes, I am on Discord. I'm in the MLH Discord as Nathan from MLH, and I'm also in the Blahaj Gang Discord. If you're a part of the Blahaj Gang Guild, I actually have the role of Blahaj's bestie, I believe. It's only 85 characters, so you have another 15 to spare. Oh, so you're barely getting in there. Oh, wait, oh, this is exactly where we got stuck before with 1 minute. Okay. I don't believe that this is going to build. And we just hit time. One of Blahaj's besties. Adam corrected my role in chat. So it's still not building anymore. We encountered a bug, but that is truly within the hackathon spirit of what hackathons are like. We are cutting it close. Because we've reached the end of our time, I am going to call it here. We're going to stop the build. With that, I am not going to post this online because I don't want anyone to start from my broken base, but I am going to post in the MLH Discord server the tutorial that I was following on Free Code Camp. So you can use this rather than my broken code, because this tutorial should theoretically work for you. This will be posted. I'm also, if I stop sharing, I'm also going to post in chat where you can make sure that you are checked in for this. If I still have the check-in links. Let me find it. Let me get you that check-in link. Make sure to check in there to make sure that you're checked in for the event to get points for your guild. And with that, thank you guys so much for coming. I really appreciate it. I will be posting the tutorial that I was following in the Discord chat. And with that, have a great night.